Hello again, my dear friends, and welcome back to my channel. And I thank those people who have subscribed to it. And I wish I could do videos more frequently. One or two people I've noticed who do virtually, video every day, even several in a day. But I do have other things to do. And the subjects that I deal with are actually so vast that every time I do one of these videos it's very difficult to know what angle to take. So this will be my 13th video, and I'm pleased to see that my first one is now approaching 90,000 views, which is not too bad. So again, thank you for those who have taken an interest. I was sat here with a camera ready to use and trying to think what subject I could talk on at this time. And it's not easy because I've covered a lot of the general field, and I needed to either talk about something new, which is not easy, or reiterate some of what I've already said, because sometimes hearing the same thing said several times by someone, it can help it to, shall we say, stick better. One quick comment before I get into the subject, and I've said this previously, is I have actually got a slight bit of lung damage due to an industrial, let's call it an injury. Back in the 1960s when I inhaled a solvent called trichloroethylene, which we used to use, and there was no health and safety to speak of then. So unfortunately these days, when I've now passed 70, I'm starting to find the effects of it quite noticeable, and I will have to cough from time to time. So it's not that I've got the virus or anything like that, it's actually due to damage in the lungs, which of course it's too late to claim now, because it's too many decades ago. Right. There you go, get it out of the way. Having spent another week looking at various videos on YouTube, and on some of them, I want to weep looking at the titles of videos. Oh my God, wake up people. But having looked at some videos, and I've left comments which in some quarters may leave me unpopular, but to the best of my ability, having spent 39 years as a something of a student under one of the best teachers it was possible to find, I believe that I'm telling the truth on these things, certainly as far as my own understanding goes. And as I reached to switch the camera on, because very often I find that spontaneous descriptions of things, one can lead on to another, and I've long since given up the idea of having a pre-arranged talk and I go through stages. No, I sit down, I start talking, and I on occasion, certainly on my last video, which is a glimpse into evolution, I think at times I've been inspired and it comes out, I get guided onto where to go next. Yes, YouTube videos. Let's get some fundamentals off. I've mentioned them before and I'm going to state them again. And as far as I am concerned, the things I'm talking about are factual. Not theory, not speculation, factual. All the matter, he turns round, hitting the desk, all the matter which forms the whole of the cosmos, and somebody picked me up on my last video because I tend to say cosmos. Yes, universe, whichever word you want to use. Everything that's in manifestation. It is one single force, because it isn't matter, it's a field of influence and nothing more. Everything in the universe is, in the cosmos, is simply this one field of influence which has induced into it different types of vibration, different frequencies of vibration. that fabric or that field of influence is what some people call ether. Ether left to itself is static. Okay, it doesn't move of its own volition, you might say. It's a field of static influence. Despite what some people in the medical field, psychiatry and whatever, I don't know, whatever fields. Despite what some people may believe, consciousness is not a product of anything material. It's not a case, as I've seen on some of these videos, it's not a case of a life form comes into being and as a result consciousness ensues. No, the consciousness exists first, not physical, not manifest in any way, shape or form, totally invisible. It's a non-physical awareness, and that's what some people call spirit. That spirit, consciousness, has one ability. It has the ability to use what we might term willpower to cause ether to move or vibrate. And consciousness produces what we might call matter by causing the ether to vibrate. And all the subatomic particles that make up the atoms, molecules, cells, all manifestation, whether you regard it as living or not, and in fact it is all alive, but regardless of whether you consider it to be alive, all the subatomic particles, electrons, protons, neutrons, are nothing more than standing wave vibrations in ether. And that's virtually all they are. They're standing waves. An electron retains a shape because it's a standing wave pattern that moves in its spatial coordinates, but retains essentially the same shape. It's a standing wave pattern that moves. Well, moves in vibration, but it moves in 3D coordinates. Okay? So first of all, consciousness comes first. Matter, manifestation, is the result. Cough. Sorry. When you have vibration, certain characteristics or not specifications. See, when you get, I said this in the last video, when you get over your 70-year point, it's sometimes difficult to bring the right words to mind exactly when you want them. Your brain slows down a little bit. But when you have vibration, you have characteristics of that vibration, and I'm talking specifically about harmonics and multiples or octaves of that vibration. Look at this earth as it is now, the world where you are actually sat in a chair, I assume, or even looking at it on your mobile phone, on the underground, on the metro, or on a bus, wherever, wherever you're looking at this. Look at the world around you. Everything that is associated with this world, the solid matter, the liquids, the gaseous material, the plasmas, the etheric, the superetheric matter, of which auras are formed. Everything in this world, or as we would say on this plane of vibration, in this octave of vibration, it is only one of 7 completely different physical worlds, planes or realms that exist around this planet now, exactly the same as it does on every moon and every planet of this system and every planet out there, or the windows that way, out there. So yes, everything is ether in vibration, in states of vibration. All of your senses, those basic 7 senses, sight, hearing, smell, touch and taste, they are only capable, in this body, they are only capable of detecting movement of the ether. If you get a large tract of space where there is very little vibration or movement to your basic senses, it appears empty. It isn't. It's full of fairly static ether, within which, in certain locations or locales, you have pockets of vibration which have been instilled into it by intelligence. And all matter, all manifestation, whatever form it takes, has consciousness behind it at some level. Okay. Vibration has multiples or octaves. Around this planet there are 7 physical worlds, all interlaced, all occupying the same spatial coordinates, although when you go into higher levels of vibration, the sky, as it were, of each particular plane is further out from the surface of the planet. When you get onto some of the higher planes, certainly onto level 7, the higher sky, for want of a better term, on level 7, almost certainly, if it doesn't reach the moon, it's certainly fairly close to it. And that's how big it is. You know, like the skins on an onion. Like when you shine a torch on the wall and you get a bright bit in the middle and it goes dimmer as it comes out. Well, it's the same with matter, that you've got what we call the basic physical plane here, okay, which actually has the slowest vibration of all the 7 planes, the natural planes. And as you go to, if you number them 1 to 7, if you go to level 2, level 3, level 4, they are all here in the same space, here, now, where you are. But the, for want of a better term, the sky on each of the planes is higher up and is further away from the surface. So they come out further from the earth. Okay? On this earth, because of mankind's thinking, because of mankind's actions, we have actually had 4 get the brain together, 4 unnatural planes, realms or worlds, sub-octaves of matter, which have come into being, which also exist here. They are unnatural, and the matter of those planes is vibrating slower than this. Okay. As we call level 2, which is the next plane up in terms of vibration in the same space, as we call it the astral realm. Astral because it comes from the what happens is when people are developing their psychic abilities and they first start to see it through here or one of the other centers, it seems to sparkle like stars when they first begin to see it, and that's why it ended up with the name as astral, star-like. Okay, the 4 lower vibratory planes, which are not natural, have become known to some as the lower astral realms. Okay, cough. Sorry. The next thing I want to move on to is a single human being. You who is watching this now. Me. I. Okay. Each human being, and to some extent most of the animals, not all, but most, each human being is not just this, the basic physical body. Let's look at what a human being is now. But we're going to work what is really in the wrong direction, but from the direction that will make it easier to understand. This thing is an electrically driven biochemical robot which has consciousness controlling it, as it were, from outside, not from within here. Okay? You have thoughts and it appears to be in your head, but you can regard it as being somewhat similar to, on the radio in Britain, classic FM, on the VHF FM band, the electronic representation of music and sound and speech is happening in the radio, but that's merely a copy of the electromagnetic radiation coming in from outside. So too with your thoughts. The brain is an electrochemical computer, but part of the functioning of the brain is like the mental equivalent of a radio receiver, and it is picking up thought energy from outside, and you feel as though it's within you in the head, because you are actually a multiple-bodied entity, but it's a single unit which is actually spread through 6 of these 7 planes of vibration. You have 7 bodies which are located on 6 of the planes of vibration. On one of the levels you actually got 2 bodies, one a denser and one a more subtle. So you've got 7 bodies altogether. When you're having normal, everyday thoughts about domestic things, material things, everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, those thoughts are not originating here. They are originating in a body that you are using on level 3 of the 7 planes. It's known to some as the mental plane. It's on level 3 where you have 2 different bodies. In the denser forms of matter of level 3, you have what is known as the lower mental body, and it's in that body that those thoughts are occurring. On level 2 is your astral or emotional body. And on level 1 here you have this electrically driven biochemical robot body, okay, and the 3 bodies, the lower mental body, the astral body and this basic body, along with what is known as its aura, they are all located here in space. If you could physically see them, and some people can, and you looked at this body, this is looking at my hand for example, you've got the skin and bone. Surrounding that and permeating it you have the etheric body or aura, which actually comes a little bit further out, and it comes all the way round, slightly further out. You've got your astral body on level 2, which is also in the same location, but it's slightly bigger, and it actually comes out a little bit further than the aura. And you've got your body on level 3, the lower mental body, which comes out quite a bit further, and they're all here. Okay. This body, as I've said several times already, is nothing more, forgive that, than an electrically driven organic robot. When this thing was forming, the same as yours, in your mother's womb, there was a stage of development at which, like a driver getting into a car, you got into that body. Mentally, you got into that body. Once you had made that connection with that body while it was still in the mother's womb, totally unknown to most mothers, they don't know there's somebody out there separate to that baby that's now connected to it. Once that connection had been established, there was a certain closing down of the consciousness, because in the first few days, weeks of that pregnancy, when that little fetus was starting to develop, it had nothing to do with you. Like this one, when it was that big, had nothing to do with me. It was a fetus that was produced in my mother's womb. Once you establish that connection, I believe it often is around the 20-week or so point, but I don't think that's written in stone. What happens is the consciousness, which is now on the astral realms, but is now focused on that fetus in the mother's womb, it's like a transfer of your point of focus changes. Star Wars, your focus determines your reality. It does. Before you got into that body, so to speak, you were on the astral realms, and for you the astral realm was real. Real. Just the same as this world is real. You're mentally connected to that fetus, and once you've made that energetic connection to the fetus, invisibly to the parents or anyone else unless they're psychic, the consciousness now connected to that fetus closes down to some degree, like going to sleep for a period. I believe some call it the period of darkness. Because what happens is, certain energetic patterns that you have brought with you from your last life, physically, scientifically, affect the DNA, and it causes the DNA to be reconfigured so it's customized for you. And while that customization is going on, the consciousness of the individual is largely, shall we say, sleeping. By the time that baby's body is born, the customization has taken place, and when you come out, that body, and I know there are a lot of people who have, shall we say, medical problems, and I won't go into more detail than that. You'll have to think about this yourself, because I don't want people to think I'm being unfeeling. No, I'm not. I don't want people to think I'm picking up, oh, it's your fault, you're blind or you're deaf or whatever. Okay, but the things that happen to that body while it's in the womb, after you've made the connection, are purely a result of what you have done in your past lives. That customization you caused to happen. The same as with me. Because we're in a school, we're in a college, and we're here to learn lessons. And the body, when that baby is born, is exactly what you need in order to learn the lessons in this life. And it will be different in every life, because you learn some things, you forget some things. You make mistakes, okay, you need to learn. So you're given the opportunity to learn it next time. I'm not going to mention specifics here, but during a conversation with somebody yesterday, and it's a word I don't particularly like, but somebody said to me about someone they knew, oh, he hates such and such. I guarantee something. If you have a hate for something, a person, a situation or whatever, somewhere down the line, whether it's in your current life or it's in your next one, you will be forced into that, or into contact with whatever it is, because you've got to learn not to hate it. Those who have an ethnic bias, if there's a nationality you, forgive the term, but hate, there's a very good chance that in your next life you'll be born there, so you can see it from their side. Not to punish you, to teach you, look, this is what they have to go through. Cut them some slack. You've got to try and see the other person's situation, and say you may be born into it. Okay, anyway, the point is, as you grow up through life, you go through experiences. It isn't so much the person here with its brain that is actually learning per se. I said you've got 7 bodies spread over 6 planes. The highest vibrational body, which is on this planet, is on level 6 of the 7 planes. That body is the real you, not this thing. That's the real you. It's what some people call the soul. Some of the theosophists call it the monad. They call it the monadic plane, level 6, where the soul exists. That is the real you in manifestation, not this. And it's the soul body which over eons is learning. Okay? I regularly cover the same ground with a good friend of mine who seems to misunderstand, and I can't go into it with him because you end up offending people. But he has this bee in his bonnet that because we as a planetary race, we've been on this planet for millions of years. Yes, we have, as humans. No, are you listening, archaeologists and paleontologists? We humans on Earth did not evolve from a lower species. We've always been human since we first came here, and it goes a long way back. But he seems to have, my friend, has this bee in his bonnet that we have not evolved over millions of years. No, we haven't. In fact, if you look in the last few 100,000 years, we're going further and further back despite technology. Technology is not a mark of evolution. What is a mark of evolution is level of conscious awareness. That's where it really lies. For the third time, my friend seems to believe that because we have actually gone backwards, we have not evolved as we should have done, that in the future mankind is not going to evolve. We're just going to go further and further and further back all the time, and there's no point in doing anything because we're not going to learn. Actually, that's not what happens. Once, especially when you start to consciously think about these things, what happens is events you go through, experiences you go through mean more to you. Now, you may not fully understand everything you go through, but what does happen is when you're born into your next life as a baby, part of your memory in most people will close down. When you have a baby which is only a few hours or a few days old, even a few weeks old, try this if you see a brand new born baby. Look into the eyes. When the eyes are open, look directly into the child's eyes. And if you try and be aware of what you're seeing, what you're experiencing when you do this, you may have the shock of your life when you get the gut feeling that behind those eyes there is an adult consciousness looking at you, but it can't talk, it can't walk, it can't tell you. I'm going cold. There's somebody stood near me. Have I got a presence here? Oh, it just went cold. I think somebody's just walked up to me. Anyway, yes, but you see that consciousness in that firstborn, in that baby's body when it is first born, may very well remember its life on the astral realms. It may even remember its last life here before it went on to the astral realms. But you see, the way our society and culture has been purposely set up by evil manipulators behind the scenes is to make us more materialistic. And we have to learn to walk. We have to learn to talk. And most parents, and I'm not criticizing, but it's true, most parents who don't know that we reincarnate treat that baby as if it's a brand new life form suddenly sprung into existence, for the first time. No, it isn't. It's an ancient intelligence using a brand new baby's body. And they teach it to be a baby, and shake the rattle. I don't know if they still do that these days. They certainly used to. But they teach it to be a baby. And all the things it has to deal with then, at the moment, at any given moment, overpower the memories, and it forgets. It forgets that it's lived before, you see. Except in some rare cases. I won't say any detail, but because I do talk on these things, years ago I made a request. And you can make requests. No guarantee it will be answered, but often it is. I started in the 1990s giving lectures to people, and I started talking about the reality of reincarnation and the fact that you don't die and you continue to physically exist after the so-called demise of this body, which gets cremated or buried. And I made the request to whoever, that please allow me to remember aspects of my past before I was born into this life, so that I can stand in front of an audience, and instead of saying I believe in reincarnation, I can look them straight in the eye and say I know reincarnation is real, because I remember aspects of my own past, and now I do. I will not give any details over a video like this, but yes, I was born in Yorkshire in my last life. I was born in North Wales in the life before that. Somewhere in the region of, somewhere between 1100 and 1000 years ago, I believe I was born in North Devon. I've even got photographs of paintings of me from the 17th century. And yes, it does look like me. Reincarnation is real, but most people don't remember. Okay? And parents teach babies to be children, and they forget they lived before. So this is one of the big things. When the same situation applies on Earth here in some respects as it does on all the other planets of this system, and some of the moons, and all of the other inhabited, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of inhabited worlds throughout this galaxy, some of which we've heard something about. Unlike some of the so-called scientists who don't even know there is life out there. Well, they're not moving in the right circles, are they? Or maybe they are moving in circles, and maybe that's the problem. I'm not criticising them, honestly I'm not. Okay. But you see, the same situation applies here. Around Earth you've got 7 completely different physical, quite natural worlds, all existing in the same space at the same time, and the only or the main difference between them is the matter that forms that and this is in a different octave of vibration. 7 octaves. Like you have 7 octaves of notes on a large piano keyboard, maybe. Same thing, except it's the vibration of the energy rather than the vibration of a string or the air when you play a piano. It's the same thing. All the planets in this system, all of them have 7 quite natural physical planes, realms or worlds around the physical planet. And all of those planes and realms and worlds are physical. You see? Okay. And they say, well, there's dark matter out there, we can't see it, and all these theories about what it is. A child can answer it. It's merely matter like this that's vibrating in different frequency ranges. It's simple. You don't need any maths to understand that, any arithmetic. You don't need equations and formulae. You don't need to devise algorithms on the computer. Matter exists in octaves. It's that simple. You can't see it because it's outside of the range of your physical eyes. The vibration of the matter is so fast that your eyes don't respond to it. And the same principle, incidentally, applies to all 7 of your senses. All 5 of your senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch and taste. Just the same as you have sound frequencies which are outside the range of your ears. You have light frequencies which are outside the range of your eye. You have atomic and molecular vibrations which are outside the range of your touch. I said a few minutes ago that I felt somebody walk up to me. Yes, I did. I know what the feeling is like because I've had it so many times. You suddenly get a cold vibration, and it's the aura of somebody who comes and stands next to you. Okay, that person, to themselves, they're real. I can put my hand through them. I don't feel them because my sense of touch doesn't go that high in frequency. The cells in my body can't respond to that too readily. But the fact that they are in this world but in a higher state of vibration can cause noticeable changes in what appears to be the temperature of the air around me. I'm still feeling it. I believe, I think somebody has actually stood between me and the camera actually, because my knees feel the cold, and I think there's somebody stood here that I can't see. If there is, just tap something, let me know that you're there. Whoever it is probably stood there laughing their head off because I can't see them. Anyway, get that out of the way. So then these so-called, please, I'm not knocking science, I'm a fan of science, and I know I know some professional scientists personally. I don't knock any of them, but it's sad that they've become trapped in gross materialism. Okay, they send, with all what they regard as their high technology, they send this probe to Mars. There's more gone to Mars, I think, than anywhere else, or to this asteroid, or they've sent one to Venus. You know, like the Russians years ago sent. You know, and they have cameras and they have all sorts of scientific sensing equipment on board. And then an organisation like NASA comes out public and says, well, we haven't detected any life. Oh, just a minute. You've got that same technology on that probe on this Earth. With that same technology here, they can't detect most of the human beings living on this Earth. You know, people say, well, the population of Earth is, what, 7.5 billion or something like that. No, it isn't. That's the population of these bodies in this world. But every person who is living in this world is using bodies on higher planes of vibration too. And a lot of those people, a big percentage of the population of this planet, are not using bodies in this world at the moment. Your friends and relatives who have passed on, who are not using bodies here, but they're still alive on the other planes. And can these scientists detect them? No. People who have got what we call psychic faculties can often see them. People who are clairaudient, who have got clear hearing, can hear them when they speak. You know, and they can hold conversations with these people even if they can't see them. What about the higher planes still? You know, because all the planes to one extent or another on this Earth are inhabited. You know, you send one of these rovers to Mars and it looks like a desolate planet. Well, there are two reasons why you're not seeing much life there. One is those who do live on the basic physical plane, the equivalent of this world but on Mars, is because they don't build on the surface like we do. They have great reverence for their planet, and they get permission to create or build, if you like, underground complexes. We don't know the numbers, but there's a tremendous number of Martians actually physically living under the surface of Mars, and they have technology there which would put us to shame. You know? But there's a large number of Martian entities who live in higher planes of vibration, and they are using physical bodies but in a higher vibration. And unlike ours, they can move between those planes at will. You see, we can't. When you go to sleep at night, the reason this body goes to sleep is because part of your consciousness leaves the body. With some people, they may not leave this world. The consciousness may just come, as it were, clear of the body for the time being, and some individuals have experienced, and there are many cases of this, of the individual floating above their body which is asleep, and they look down and they can see their body asleep. They've come out of the body, but they're still real. They are physical, even though they're not in that body. Other people can actually move onto a higher plane of vibration during the body's sleep state, and they interact with people, friends, relatives, and some people they don't know or haven't met before on the astral realm. And some who are a little more advanced maybe go to the mental realms, or even higher than that. And it's all physical and it's all real. It's not. But when the person comes back into the body and the body wakes up and the person says, "Oh, I had a dream," well, you regard it as a dream because that closure of memory, which happened as a child, still there. You come out of the experience back into this basic physical world, and you only have a dim recollection of what you've done. "Oh, I saw my deceased parents." Well, you probably did. You were probably interacting with them on the astral realms during the body's sleep state. And you say, "Oh, it was a dream." No, it wasn't a dream. It's a vague memory of what you actually did. When you exist on higher planes of vibration, whether you're resident there or whether you're just in a state of projection from the body which is sleeping, you'll find you can travel at tremendous speeds because you don't have this basic biochemical body, this organic robot body when you're on the astral realms. It's an energy body, and the energy body that you have there responds to your thoughts far more readily than this one does. And you can levitate and you can fly through the air at tremendous speed. That has just reminded me of one other thing that I need to mention. There are videos on this computer here behind me. Well, I mean, I've got two. I'm actually recording on another one here. But videos I normally look at on this computer, on YouTube, where they say, "Oh, they're developing fast propulsion systems for rockets and near light speed travel." The man who sweeps the floor at NASA, even he probably knows, whoever that might be, that if you devise a propulsion system that just speeds up your rocket or your craft, whatever form it takes, and you just travel faster, one of the problems you've got is exactly the same as with aircraft. When you've got an interceptor aircraft that is travelling at, say, Mach 4 or something, or greater, you try and turn. The turning circle is miles in radius because you don't have the manoeuvrability at higher speeds. That's what happens in space. If you see, you're travelling at half the speed of light, and you see ahead of you, either with your instrumentation or physically with your eyes looking out the window, you see a moon in the distance or a planet in the distance directly in front of you. If you're travelling at a decent speed, you haven't got time to avoid it. You are going to splat. That's it. Travelling through space is not just a case of speed. You will kill yourself. You will kill this body. You don't kill the being. You make the body, you make the intelligence, the consciousness leave the body because the body gets destroyed in the collision. The basic body, that is. It's not just speed. There are videos on YouTube. I've downloaded, I've got copies of them, I've even put them on DVDs and given them to people so they can see. There is a tremendous amount of footage of taken from the space shuttles when they were in operation, looking out of the window. On some of those videos there are dozens, if not hundreds, of non-terrestrial spacecraft in near-Earth orbit. One which has made me laugh. The space shuttle was going to this International Space Station, and they looked out of the window and there were dozens of objects. Obviously at distance you can't see much more than a white dot or a white blob. You know, we can't see the detail of them very often. Partly as well because they have energy fields around them which diffuse the light, and so you don't get very sharp images of them. But on this particular mission, they were going to the International Space Station, and it was quite obvious, listening to the person on the ground talking to the shuttle and the conversation back and forth. They couldn't make it out visually which one was the space station because there were so many out there. Now the reason for mentioning this is, on some of those bits of video, and you can go and look at them, when you see the limb of the Earth, sometimes you will see one of these white glowing objects, a spacecraft, whether it's a small scout craft or a large disk object, some of them several miles across. You will see them sometimes come from the come up from the lower to the upper atmosphere of Earth, and then they come out into space, and they get a distance and they just blink out. It's not because they've suddenly accelerated at, you know, tremendous speeds. It's not that at all. But many of the craft that come into the vicinity of the Earth and even down close to the Earth, they have mechanisms built into them that they can transmute, transform, transpose. I was trying to think of the right word. Transpose the vibrations of all the matter of the craft and its contents into a higher octave. They effectively move from the basic physical plane onto the astral realm, level 2, or the mental realm, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. They change the vibration of the craft. Every form of energy on the higher vibratory planes vibrates and travels faster than it does when you measure it here. I believe it's a factor of times 49 times 49 times 49 as you go up through the planes. So even light on level 2, the astral realm, is travelling 49 times faster than it does here. When the people in these craft, whoever they may be, from wherever they may be, when they change the vibration of their craft from the basic physical plane to the astral realm, using the same expender of energy for propulsion, they can travel easily 49 times faster than they could here. So it takes 1/49th of the time to travel a given distance. Go on to level 3, they can travel 2,401 times faster than they can here. And it goes times 49 times 49, and it's on level 3. Is it level 3 or level 4? I've got the figures written, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. It's either level 3 or level 4, where that multiplication factor goes more than 1,000,000. In fact, I think it might be on level 4, where that multiplication factor goes more than 4 million. They can vibrate their craft onto a higher plane of vibration, and easily, for them with the technology they have, they can travel at speeds in excess of 4 million times the speed of light as we measure it here. But of course, if they went, say, level 5 of the 7 planes, which exist out there as well in terms of energetic vibration, if they went to level 5 and they were travelling at what to us, if we could detect them somehow, they may be travelling, say, 3 million times the speed of light as we measure it here. But on the plane where they currently are, they're still travelling slower than light, because light on that plane travels faster than it does here. You see what I mean? So, yes, you can travel faster than light by changing the vibration of the craft. No, you can't travel faster than light, because whatever plane you're on, you can only go to a certain percentage of the speed of light on that plane. But by going to a higher plane of vibration, you can exceed that speed, and you're still not going faster than light where you are. You see what I mean? So, and you do get this. Okay. I've forgotten why I got onto this, but one of the main things is that probably more, I think some people have quoted more than 93% of what exists in the universe is completely and absolutely undetectable by us. And they say dark matter without any clue of what it is. Simply matter that vibrates in a higher frequency range. It's as simple as that. You know, there's nothing complex about it. You know. Anyway, I've waffled enough, and I'm hoping this has been recording. Otherwise, I've been talking to myself. For how long is it? Can't see the figures. It's too small. I think I'll call it quits because that's given anyone who watches this something to think about. But I'll finish with this. There are a lot of people, and I've met some of them, who regard themselves as scientists, and they are very dedicated and they're very honest people, you know, who don't realise that when they came up through their schools and colleges, they've been conditioned to look materialistically at the universe, and that automatically blocks them off from a huge percentage of what they could otherwise learn. You've got to, no maybe, you've got to look at the universe, look at the planet, look at yourself. Any aspect of manifestation, you have got to adapt a spiritual come mystical appreciation. Otherwise, you won't see what's there. And it's such a shame that the dedicated people have allowed themselves to become limited by materialism. That is one of the reasons why science has been pushed by dark forces behind the scenes, the evil manipulators, again to repeat, who are from this planet. They're not extraterrestrials. There are extraterrestrials out there, and there are some of them on this planet now as I speak. I could even give you names of some of them, or names that we know them by. You know, there always have been. You know. I just thought of something. There's a certain gentleman, I don't knock him, he had a brilliant brain, but in some respects a very limited appreciation. Our dear friend, probably a very nice man who used to sit in the wheelchair, you know, who got virtually no movement and used to have an electronic voice so that he could speak, and he wrote books on time and various other things. That individual once made a comment, I can only paraphrase it, I can't remember the actual wording, but he made a comment to the effect that we have to be very careful with our radio transmissions in case races out there suddenly realise we're here and they could prove to be a danger to us. For 39 years, in December this year, it'll be 40 years, I have been something of a student of one of the best contactees on record, Sir George King, founder of the Aetherius Society. No other contactee comes close. Don't care who it is, they don't come close. You learn a lot. As a result of studying a contactee and what information he has made available, I can safely say there are hundreds of thousands, it might even be hundreds of millions, of civilizations out there in this galaxy who know far more about us than we do. We are known throughout this galaxy as a warlike, barbaric race. They often refer to this planet as the Red Planet, where all the blood has been spilt for thousands and thousands of years. The planet where people don't think. And I'm afraid those who have got good brains will only think within certain limits, more often than not. You know, the planet of sorrows, they call it. I'm afraid so. But they know more about us than we know about us. And I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you.